Hello and welcome back to AP Psychology. I'm Miss Lee. We are finishing up Unit 7 today. This final video in the unit is focused on social cognitive theory of personality. By the end of this video, you should be able to compare and contrast the behaviorist and social cognitive theories of personality with other theories of personality, and you should be able to identify the contributions of major researchers in personality theory. One of our focuses will be on Albert Bandura, the other on Martin Seligman. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and grab your notes and let's get started. So let's first start out talking about the social cognitive ideals. Social cognitive psychologists believe we learn behaviors from conditioning, from observing, from modeling, and they emphasize the importance of the mental processing of that information. It focuses on how we and our environment interact. So this is a combination of the behavioral and the cognitive perspectives. Again, there is an emphasis on the interaction of our personality traits with our situations. So who we are with where we are. Our first psychologist is Albert Bandura. He is best known for his work in observational learning with the Bobo doll experiment. So this should be slightly reviewish for you. You've definitely heard of Albert Bandura by now. But he also coined the term reciprocal determinism. And basically all that means is that our personality is shaped by an interaction among cognitive, which is basically your internal and personal factors, behaviors, and environmental factors. So he believed that our cognitions, our behaviors, and our environment all come together to interact. So there is a reciprocal nature. So we reciprocate with our environment based on our behaviors and our cognitions. And there are three ways that individuals and environments interact. Different people choose different environments. Whether you are aware of it or not, you made a choice to be where you are right now in this moment, and it is watching this video. Maybe the consequences were too great for you to choose otherwise, but you still had a choice. You are in whatever chair or room that you are choosing, and maybe the choices are limited, but you still have a choice. So different people choose different environments. And I want you to also think of your friends. These individuals can influence the way that you think about school, the music you like, and the clothes that you wear. So we basically choose our environment. We choose the friends that we hang out with. We choose what we wear to school every day, and we choose whether or not we are doing the things that other people are wanting us to do and going to the places that other people want us to go. Different people choose different environments. The next way is our personalities shape how we interpret and react to events. Some people are calm, some are anxious. Your reactions to an emergency will be different depending on your personality. Our personalities help create situations to which we react. How we treat others is often how they in turn treat us. If you are nice, others tend to be nice in return. And so all three of these different ways of interacting can greatly influence what happens next. The next concept that I want to talk to you about is self-efficacy. This is a person's belief about his or her skills. This is a person's belief about their skills and ability to perform certain behaviors. It's different than self-concept because this is about the individual specific skills and abilities, not about the self as a whole. The greater a person's sense of self-efficacy, the more confident that person is in their ability to deal with life's challenges. One's self-efficacy has a powerful effect on their behavior, yet it is not considered a trait. Why? Because it can be understood only in relation to that specific behavior, that specific situation, and is not generalizable across situations. Personal control is another concept that we need to make sure that we have down when we're talking about the social cognitive theory of personality. This is someone's sense of controlling or being controlled by the environment. There are two types, and this is according to Julian Rotter. There is an internal locus of control and an external locus of control. The external locus of control is a perception that either chance or outside forces determine your fate. The perception related to an internal locus of control is that you control your own destiny or fate. So you may be wondering to yourself, which is better psychologically? Well, research has found that the internal locus of control, basically the idea that you control your own life. Research shows that internals receive higher grades, that they are less likely to succumb to pressures of others, and that they're more likely to engage in physical activity. What are possible limitations to this perception? Well, there are always situations that you can't control, so there's a limit to your actual ability to control your life. Another theorist that is important in this idea of control and your perspective is Martin Seligman, and he is still conducting research. One of his focuses is on this idea of learned helplessness. So hopelessness and passive resignation is learned, according to Dr. Seligman, and when one is unable to avoid repeated traumatic events from which one cannot or feels they cannot escape. So basically, after exposure to enough events where you feel like you can't escape or control the things that are happening to you, you learn to feel helpless and hopeless in other scenarios. Research that has been done in the area of learned helplessness includes animals being willing to continue to try to escape when they receive a shock. What they found is that dogs who receive a small shock will eventually, if the wall is high at first and they can't escape, eventually, after enough exposures to the shock, when the wall is lowered or removed, they stop trying. So that's one of the ways that we have been able to research this concept of learned helplessness. According to Dr. Seligman, we feel no sense of control over the situation and often transfer this feeling to other situations. People who are given little control, such as prisoners and nursing home residents, experience a lowering of morale and they experience an increase of stress. And often this sense of learned helplessness can start occurring. So what about optimism? It is good to have a positive outlook, but we still need a sense of reality as well, as excessive optimism can be detrimental to a person. An excessive sense of optimism can cause a person to be blind to risks like disease, unwanted pregnancy, divorce, and even dropping out of college. Individuals with an abundance of optimism also tend to be overconfident when least competent at a task. So how do we assess the self? Well, the self is defined as the organizer of our thoughts, feelings, and actions. It's the most important item in personality, according to humanistic psychologists. In assessing the self, we have found that self-esteem, or the feeling of self-worth, is beneficial. People who feel good about themselves have fewer sleepless nights, do not conform as easily, are more persistent during difficult tasks, are less shy and lonely, and tend to be happier. So let's talk about the self-serving bias. This is our readiness to perceive ourselves favorably. People accept more responsibility for good deeds than for bad, and people tend to see themselves as better than average. These are both examples of a self-serving bias, a bias that serves ourselves and our self-assessment. Criticisms of the theory is that it focuses too much on the situation or environment and that it fails to recognize a person's inner traits. It does not look at the influence of unconscious motives, our emotions, or pervasive traits that many psychologists also believe influence our behaviors. And lastly, I just want to kind of tack this onto the end. When we talk about culture and the self, we have introduced the concepts of an individualistic or a collectivist culture. So individualists tend to have more emphasis on independent selves. So the self is defined by personal values, personal goals, and personal attitudes. Collectivist cultures tend to have more emphasis on the collective self, or the society. The self is defined by connections with family and friends, with the goals of the group having higher priority than individual goals. And that is it for the social cognitive theory of personality. We will begin our next unit in our next video. I can't wait to see you then. Bye for now.